Across the galaxy, space was carefully mapped. Every system had a name. Every route was recorded. Every danger was marked. But there was one region where the maps simply stopped. No lines. No data. No confirmed routes. Just a dark area with a single warning. Human space, unverified. Enter at your own risk. Most alien civilizations didn't take it seriously. Humans were new. They didn't have massive fleets. They didn't control large parts of space. They weren't known for war. To most of the galaxy, humans were unimportant. But not to the Zyrex Dominion. They were different. They didn't ignore unknown areas. They studied them. Anything not understood is a potential threat, their leaders believed. So they made a decision. We send a spy ship. The mission was simple. Enter human space quietly. Collect data. Return without being seen. No attack. No contact. Just observation. For this task, they chose one of their best ships. The Virex Shadow. It was fast. It was silent. And most importantly, it could not be detected. At least, that's what they believed. Inside the ship, the crew prepared for entry. Cloaking system active. Engines at low output. All systems running silent. The commander stood at the front, looking at the dark area ahead. This is just another mission, he said calmly. No one argued. Why would they? They had done this many times before. The ship moved forward. Slowly. Carefully. Then, it crossed the boundary. At first, everything seemed normal. Stars were still there. Space looked the same. But then one of the crew members frowned. Commander. Yes. I'm not picking up any signals. That's normal. Increase sensitivity. The crew member adjusted the sensors. Waited. Then looked back again. Still nothing. The room went quiet. Define nothing, the commander said. No radio signals. No transmissions. No background noise. That didn't make sense. Even the most basic civilizations produced noise. Signals from satellites. Communication between cities. Random data transmissions. But here, there was nothing. Just empty silence. The commander slowly looked back at the dark space ahead. Keep moving, he said. The ship went deeper. Further into human space. And that's when the feeling started. It was hard to explain. Nothing had changed. No alarms. No warnings. But the crew felt it. Like they were no longer alone. Like something knew they were there. Watching. Waiting. The commander didn't say it out loud. But for the first time, he wasn't completely sure this mission was simple. Because this didn't feel like empty space. It felt like they had entered something else entirely. The deeper the Virex Shadow moved into human space, the stranger everything became. At first glance, nothing looked wrong. Stars burned in the distance. Dark space stretched endlessly in every direction. But the silence. That was the problem. Run a full spectrum scan, the commander ordered. The sensor officer nodded and activated the system. Normally, scans would fill the room with data. Signals. Background noise. Energy readings. But this time, the screens stayed almost empty. No activity, the officer said quietly. Check again. I already did. The commander stepped closer. Every system produces something, he said. Even primitive worlds create noise. The officer swallowed. Then either this place is completely dead. He paused. Or something is hiding it. That thought changed everything. Boost sensitivity, the commander said. The system pushed harder. Scanning deeper. Listening more carefully. For a moment. Nothing. Then. A flicker. Wait, the officer said quickly. Everyone turned. I'm detecting something. Show it. A faint shape appeared on the main screen. Large. Very large. But unstable. It flickered in and out of existence. Zoom in, the commander said. The image sharpened. Then disappeared. Where did it go? Someone asked. It's still there, the officer replied. But the signal keeps dropping. Another flicker. This time, more shapes appeared. Not just one. Several. Spread across the area. Massive objects. Ships? Stations? No one could tell. Because every time they tried to focus, the image broke apart. Are we being jammed? Another crew member asked. No, the officer said. This isn't jamming. Then what is it? A pause. It's like the signal is being bent. The commander frowned. Bent. Like something doesn't want us to see it clearly. The room fell silent again. Because that idea didn't make sense. Stealth systems could hide objects. But this wasn't hiding. This was distortion. Controlled distortion. Mark the location, the commander said. Already trying. The officer stopped. I can't. What do you mean you can't? There's no fixed position. The shapes shifted again. Not moving like ships, but changing, like they weren't fully there. Then suddenly, all signals dropped. Completely. The screen went blank. No readings, the officer said. Nothing at all. The commander looked around the room. Every system was still working, but space outside was silent again. Too silent. Keep moving, he said, though his voice was slower now. The ship advanced further. And as it did, the crew began to notice something else. Not on the screens, but inside themselves. A strange feeling. Like pressure. Not physical. Mental. Do you feel that? One of them whispered. No one answered. But no one denied it either. It felt like being watched. Not by sensors. Not by cameras. But by something aware. The commander clenched his jaw. This is just psychological, he said firmly. But even he didn't sound convinced. Because deep down, everyone on that ship felt the same thing. They were not exploring empty space. They were moving through something that knew they were there. And it was letting them go deeper. For now. The uneasy silence followed the crew as the Virex shadow moved deeper into human space. No signals. No clear structures. No signs of life. But something was there. They had all seen it. Those flickering shapes. The commander made a decision. We're not blind, he said. We use drones. Small, fast, and almost impossible to detect. Prepare microprobes, he ordered. The crew quickly got to work. 3 small drones were launched from the ship. Each one no bigger than a human hand. Drone 1 active. Drone 2 active. Drone 3 active. They moved ahead of the ship, spreading out into the darkness. Feed is clear, the operator said. The first drone transmitted visuals. Nothing unusual. Stars. Empty space. The second drone. Same result. Then the third drone sent something different. Wait. I've got something, the operator said. The screen flickered. A shape appeared again. Bigger this time. Clearer. It looked like a structure. Massive. Dark. But not like any ship they had seen before. It didn't have engines. It didn't have lights. It just existed. Zoom in, the commander said. The image sharpened. For a brief second, they saw it properly. A huge object. Smooth. Almost organic in shape. Then, the feed cut. Drone 3 lost, the operator said. What happened? No explosion. No damage. Then where is it? The operator shook his head slowly. It's gone. The room went quiet again. Send drone 1 closer, the commander ordered. Drone 1 changed direction and moved toward the last known location. The signal remained stable. For a few seconds. Then, it started to break. Signal interference, the operator said. No, wait. The feed twisted. The image stretched unnaturally, like space itself was bending. What is that? Someone whispered. Before anyone could answer. The signal cut. Drone 1 lost. Pull drone 2 back, the commander snapped. The last drone turned and rushed back toward the ship. Its signal stayed strong. For a moment, it seemed like it would make it. Then, something strange happened. The drone slowed down. Not by command. Not by damage. It just stopped, floating in space. Why isn't it moving? The commander demanded. I'm not controlling that, the operator replied. The drone's camera was still active. And for the first time, they saw it. Something in front of the drone. Not a ship. Not a structure. Something else. A distortion. Space itself looked wrong. Like it was folding inward. Then, the drone moved again. But not forward. Not backward. It moved sideways. In a way that should not have been possible. Signal breaking, the operator shouted. The feed twisted violently. Then, gone. Drone 2 lost. Silence filled the room. All 3 drones. Gone. No debris. No damage. No explanation. The commander slowly exhaled. That was not interference, he said. No one argued. Because everyone had seen it. Something in this space wasn't just hiding. It was controlling what could be seen. Controlling movement. Controlling reality itself. And they had just made a mistake. They had reached out. And something had reached back. After losing all 3 drones, no one on the Virax Shadow spoke for a while. The room felt different now. Heavier. The commander finally broke the silence. No more drones. No one argued. Full focus on ship sensors. We observe from a distance. The crew nodded quickly. But deep down, they all knew something had changed. This was no longer a simple mission. Commander, the sensor officer said quietly. Yes. It's back. The main screen flickered. And there it was again. The shape. But this time, it didn't disappear. It stayed. A massive object hung in space ahead of them. Dark. Silent. It was bigger than anything they had expected. Not the size of a ship. The size of a small moon. Is that a station? Someone asked. No known structure matches that design, another replied. The commander stepped closer. Zoom in slowly. The image sharpened. The object had no visible weapons. No engines. No lights. Just a smooth, curved surface. Almost natural. It doesn't look built, the officer said. It looks grown. That made it worse. Scan it, the commander ordered. The sensor officer hesitated. Sir, after what happened to the drones? Scan it. The system activated. A focused scan beam reached out toward the object. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the readings came in. And immediately, something was wrong. I'm not getting a stable reading, the officer said. What do you mean? It's there, but it's also not. Explain. The officer pointed at the data. Mass reading is fluctuating. Energy output is 0. But it's clearly present. That's not possible, someone said. Then, the object moved. Not forward. Not backward. It shifted. Like it had always been slightly to the side. And reality just corrected itself. Did you see that? Someone whispered. I didn't detect movement, another said. But, it changed position. The commander's expression darkened. Distance? He asked. The officer checked. Closer than before. No engines had fired. No motion had been tracked. And yet, it was closer. Back the ship away, the commander ordered immediately. Engines activated. The Virax Shadow slowly began to move backward. But the distance didn't increase. It's still getting closer, the officer said, voice shaking slightly. That's impossible. We're moving away. I know. The object grew larger on the screen. Slowly. Silently. Like it wasn't moving through space. But space itself was moving around it. Shut down active scans, the commander snapped. The scans stopped instantly. For a brief moment, everything froze. Then, the object disappeared. Gone. Just like before. The crew stared at the empty screen. No signals. No readings. Nothing. Did we lose it? Someone asked. No one answered. Because at that exact moment, a new reading appeared. From behind them, the entire crew turned slowly. The object was now directly behind the ship. Without moving, without warning, without being detected, and for the first time since entering human space, the commander felt something he had never felt before. Fear. Because this wasn't a structure. This wasn't a ship. This was something that didn't follow any known rules. And it had just shown them. They were not in control of the encounter. Not even close. No one moved. No one even breathed properly. The object was behind them. Not detected. Not tracked. Not understood. Just there. Turn the ship, the commander said quietly. The pilot reacted instantly. The Virex shadow rotated slowly in space. And the main screen shifted. Until it was facing the object again. There it was. Closer now. Much closer. The surface was clearer this time. It wasn't smooth like they first thought. It was layered. Thin patterns spread across it. Almost like veins. Faint energy moved through them. Slow. Controlled. Is it alive? Someone whispered. No one answered. Because no one wanted to say yes. Scan again, the commander said. Sir, the officer hesitated. Do it. The scan activated. A thin beam reached toward the object. For a second, nothing happened. Then, the entire ship shook. System spike, the engineer shouted. Energy feedback. Cut the scan. It's not responding. The lights flickered violently. Displays glitched. Strange symbols flashed across the screens. None of them from Xylar Systems. What is that? Someone shouted. The symbols shifted rapidly. Changing. Adapting. Then suddenly, everything stopped. The shaking ended. The lights stabilized. Silence returned. And on the main display, the symbols formed something clear. Simple. Understandable. You are not hidden. The entire crew froze. No one spoke. No one moved. That came from it, the operator whispered. The commander stepped forward slowly. That's not possible, he said. But even as he said it, he knew it was true. We are cloaked, another officer said. Our systems are invisible to all known detection. The screen changed again. Your presence was known before entry. The room felt colder. Heavier. That means, someone began. A pause. We were expected. The commander clenched his jaw. No, he said. We were not expected. He looked at the object again. Then corrected himself. We were allowed. Silence. Deep and heavy. Because that meant something far worse. They hadn't slipped into human space unnoticed. They hadn't outsmarted anyone. They had been seen. Tracked. And then, allowed to continue. The commander's voice dropped. Why? As if answering his question. The screen changed one more time. To observe. A chill ran through every person on the ship. Because that single word changed everything. They were not the observers anymore. They were the subject. Watched. Studied. And whatever was in front of them. Had been watching from the very beginning. The commander slowly stepped back. For the first time in his life, he realized something terrifying. This mission was never under their control. Not even for a second. The words on the screen did not disappear. To observe. They stayed there. Still. Clear. Final. No one in the command room spoke. Because now, everything made sense. The silence. The missing signals. The strange structures. It wasn't empty space. It was controlled space. Commander, the navigation officer said slowly, we need to leave. Now. The commander didn't argue this time. Set course back to the boundary. Full speed. The pilot immediately pushed the controls. Engines powered up. For the first time since entering human space, the Virex shadow moved at full thrust. Stars stretched slightly as speed increased. Distance should have grown. They should have been getting away. But something felt wrong. Report our position, the commander said. The navigation officer checked. Paused. Checked again. We're not moving. What do you mean we're not moving? The commander snapped. We are at full speed. I know, but our coordinates haven't changed. The room went silent again. That's impossible, someone said. Switch to manual navigation, the commander ordered. Already trying. The pilot adjusted the course. Changed direction. Nothing changed. The stars outside looked like they were moving, but the readings stayed exactly the same. It's like, the officer said slowly. We're moving, but not going anywhere. The commander turned toward the main screen. The object was still there. Behind them. Not chasing. Not attacking. Just watching. Stop engines, the commander ordered. The pilot shut everything down. The ship drifted. Or at least, it should have. Position, the commander asked. Unchanged. A cold realization spread across the room. They were not trapped by speed. They were trapped by space itself. Then, the lights dimmed. Not completely. Just enough to feel it. What's happening now? Someone asked. Energy levels dropping, the engineer said. But not by failure. A pause. By restriction. Restriction, the commander repeated. It's like, something is limiting how much power we can use. The systems slowed down. Responses became delayed. Even basic controls felt heavy. On the main screen, the message changed again. You attempted to leave. No one replied. No one even dared to speak. Another line appeared. Exit is not granted. The meaning was clear. Simple. Final. The commander stared at the words. His voice was quiet now. We're trapped. No alarms confirmed it. No system declared it. But everyone knew. This wasn't a malfunction. This wasn't a glitch. This was control. Perfect. Absolute. The object in space hadn't attacked them. It hadn't fired a single shot. And yet, it had already won. Because the moment they entered human space, they stopped being explorers and became prisoners. The ship drifted in space. Not by choice. Not by control. Just motion without escape. Every attempt to leave had failed. Every system had been restricted. And now, there was only silence. The kind of silence that felt deliberate. Commander, the science officer said quietly, we're still receiving passive data. The commander looked up. From where? The officer hesitated. From everything. That answer made no sense. Explain, the commander said. The officer pulled up the readings. We're not getting signals anymore. We're getting structure. The display changed. At first, it looked like noise. Random fragments. But then, patterns appeared. Not from the object behind them, but from all around them. Space itself seemed to carry information. Like it was part of a network. A system. This isn't normal space, the engineer said slowly. No, the science officer replied. This is organized space. The commander stepped closer. What does that mean? It means the environment is structured to process information. A pause. In simple terms. Space here is doing something. No one liked that answer. Because space was supposed to be empty. Neutral. Passive. Not alive. Not aware. Then the screen shifted again. A deeper scan activated automatically. No one initiated that, someone said quickly. But it was already running. And this time, it was not scanning outward. It was scanning inward. What is it doing? The commander demanded. The officer checked the data. His face slowly changed. It's mapping us. The room went still. Us? Someone asked. The officer nodded slowly. Not just the ship. Everything. The display zoomed out. Far beyond the ship. Beyond the object behind them. Beyond space nearby. And then, it revealed something impossible. Structures. Massive. Hidden. Spread across space like an unseen web. Not physical ships. Not stations. Something else. A network. covering vast regions of space, connecting systems, linking points that should have been empty. This is not alien technology, the engineer whispered. This is infrastructure. Who built it? Someone asked. No one answered, because they already knew the truth was worse. The system wasn't built recently. It wasn't discovered. It was already there. Before them. Before their empire. Before their maps. And then, a final realization hit the commander. Slowly. Like gravity. We didn't enter human space, he said quietly. Everyone turned toward him. He stared at the screen. We entered something that was already watching human space. Silence. Deep. Uncomfortable. Because that meant humanity was not isolated. Not unguarded. Not unknown. It was protected. Observed. Maintained. And they had just walked into the system that did it. The command room stayed silent for a long time. No one moved. No one spoke. The truth had settled in. Heavy. Final. Inescapable. They had not discovered human space. They had entered something far bigger. Something already awake. Commander, the pilot said softly, engines are fully offline. The commander didn't react. Can we restart them? A pause. No response from core systems. It wasn't just the engines. Nothing was responding. Not navigation. Not communication. Not emergency systems. Everything had been gently switched off. Like a system being put into sleep mode. On the main screen, the final message appeared. Clear. Simple. Observation complete. No alarms followed. No warnings. Just calm acceptance. What does that mean? Someone whispered. The science officer answered quietly. It means we're no longer needed. The commander looked at the message for a long moment. Then asked the question no one wanted to hear. Are we going to die here? Silence answered first. Then the system responded. No harm will be done. A pause. Containment is sufficient. The word containment said everything. They were not enemies. They were not targets. They were a risk that had been neutralized without destruction. The ship slowly dimmed. Power systems lowered one by one. Life support remained stable. But only just. We're being shut down, the engineer said. No, the commander replied quietly. We're being archived. The ship drifted. No longer active. No longer alert. Just held in place. Outside the window, the mysterious object remained. Still there. Still watching. But now, it felt different. Less threatening. More final. Because the decision had already been made. No war. No attack. No retaliation. Just control. Perfect control. The commander leaned back slightly. For the first time since the mission began. He accepted it. We were never meant to return, he said quietly. No one disagreed. Moments passed. Then, the Vyrek shadow faded from active space records. Not destroyed. Not lost. Just removed. As if it had never been there at all. Back in Zyrek space, the mission log remained blank. No distress signal. No final report. No debris. Nothing. Only one conclusion was recorded automatically. Mission status. Never returned. And somewhere deep in the galaxy, human space remained unchanged. Quiet. Calm. Still watched. Still protected. Still unknown. Because some places are not meant to be entered. And some observers never come back to report what they saw.